great coverage by Taron Johnson, better throw by Michael Penix.
Early second quarter, same score. 1st and 5 for the Falcons. Bijan Robinson exploded for 81 yards. Dan, he was insane last
Feels
night.
like one of the highlight moments of his young career. 81, beautiful blocking up front, really nice on the perimeter, but just his speed and strength down the field. What a great start for that offense.
Falcons leading 21-7 at home. 15 seconds left, and Josh Allen trying to make something happen, but throws the interception to D. Alford. Falcons lead 21-7 at halftime. Let's go to the third quarter. Same score. Bills inside the red zone. Allen to Ray Davis for the touchdown.
You had to like it if you were a Buffalo Bills fan. The way that the Bills came out in the second half, marched right down the field and got it back within one score.
The Bills in striking distance and under a minute left. Bills trailing now 24-14 inside the red zone. Allen's throw right here tipped. Intercepted by D'Angelo Malone. Allen's second interception of the game. The Falcons win 24-14. Here's Josh Allen after the game.
It sucks when you feel like 2/3 of your teams, the offense and the defense, are doing their job, and you're the team not to pull your weight. It sucks. So again, gotta get in the film room and learn from our mistakes and move on.
All right, we'll get to the Bills in a little bit as we welcome you in. Glad you're with us today. Dan, Nina, Graz, we're all here. And Dan, you were on the call for the game. As I said, what was your big takeaway from this Falcons win over Buffalo at home?
Yeah, that young talent is starting to really learn how to play NFL football. I fully expect Bijan Robinson to be at or very near the top of the MVP list come November. I think if you're an NFC playoff team, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, the Minnesota Vikings, can you stop the outside zone? That's unapologetically who this football team is with their two backs, Robinson and Algier. And if you defensively can't corral that, can't set the edge, can't run through the backside of the gaps and tackle very well, this team's going to be a problem. And so all those NFC playoff teams, man, this is a football team that has a clear identity on offense of what they want to do. And their young stars of Bijan and Drake London and Michael Penix are just, at least offensively, starting to put it together.
They're great. But for Falcons fans, I feel like the revelation has to have been, or what was last night, watching a pass rush for the first time in like 15 plus years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it must have felt like a revelation. Watching back some of those pressures, the two players who jumped out to me on tape were the two backers, Caden Ellis and Divine Diablo. They blitzed a great deal, the most that Josh Allen has been blitzed in quite some time. And they had a 44% pressure rate. Made a ton of sense, by the way, leaning into that, because Caden Ellis, I think, is one of the best blitzing linebackers in football. But the other thing that really jumped out to me, Dan, watching them, is not only were they able to pressure Allen, they were able to contain him while they were blitzing. And Ellis in particular, my goodness, it wasn't him hanging back and spying. He was coming as a rusher, but then keeping eyes on Allen. And there were so many moments where in the past you felt like, oh, Allen's going to take off. He's going to scramble for a first down. And the backers were able to track him down. Just an outstanding performance by those two as part of what I'm sure for Falcons fans was a very exciting night.
Yeah, I totally agree with the defense. They were in conversation. They were very clear, we're going to go after this offense. And I go back to the first touchdown, really the only touchdown pass for the game for Josh Allen in the first half, 3rd and forever. They play zone. They 4-man rush him. He's got all day to throw. From that moment on, it was like, hey, we're going to go after you. I think you saw how much A.J. Terrell matters to that defense. Jalen Walker also attached with Ellis as a spy and a rusher. Raheem Morris, who's the head coach, said after the bye week, he truly believes that their young, athletic defensive talent is just starting to understand, how important that day-to-day is in the NFL and being coachable. They're talented as anybody on defense when it comes to speed and athleticism.
Yeah, and they are young, which I think that's really important.
So
they can all
young.
kind of grow up together, which is maybe scary for their opponents. Graz, 2 straight losses for the Bills. Are some changes on the horizon in Buffalo?
Yeah, they're heading into the bye week now, Laura. I think they'll sort of get in the lab as coaches and figure out how they need to adjust this offense. Ever since Joe Brady took over as the offensive coordinator midway through the 2023 season, this offense has been extremely disciplined and extremely run-heavy and averse to turnovers. They turned the ball over 8 times total last year in 20 games, counting the postseason. So Now they're turning it over again. Now teams are going after Josh Allen. They figured out how to contain him. They're not scared of getting beat on the back end. Bills may have to make some adjustments that require them to take more shots down the field. And with 3 weeks till the trade deadline, Laura, I think this is a team that has shown that it will be active in season in terms of seeking improvements. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them on the hunt for an offensive playmaker that could help them down the field. I know Brandon Beane, their GM, gets annoyed when people talk about how they don't have a number one wide receiver, but it doesn't seem like the Falcons were too scared of anybody beating them down the field last night.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This team actually, the offense, reminds me a little bit of the Ravens a few years ago, where if they can't run the ball in dominant fashion, that's both the back and the quarterback, then teams exact same situation that we're seeing Josh Allen right now. If I'm Buffalo, I'm calling New Orleans. Rashid Shaheed, maybe Chris Olave. That one seems a little bit less likely. Yeah. But they absolutely need downfield speed because right now this group, they were affected by the absence of Kincaid and Palmer, but I still think that they need more. I
agree with you that it's worthy to add downfield speed. I think that can be true while also being real. They were down 8 starters for most of that football game last night on both sides of the ball, so yes, they're going to have to play better defensively. They're going to have to be more gap sound. They're going to have to tackle better. But they also have to get a lot of their weaponry back to really gauge where this defense and really where the team is as a whole.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that in the trade deadline coming up soon, early November. Let's go to the other Monday night matchup. Commanders hosting the Bears on Monday Night Football. We're actually going to pick it up in the third quarter for this game. The Commanders at this point, as you see the two quarterbacks there, of course, they're familiar with each other, 1 and 2 in the 2024 draft. Commanders trail 13-7. Jaden Daniels getting back in it, connecting with a wide open Luke McCaffrey for 6 points. Commanders leading 17-16. Early fourth quarter, same score, 1-point game, and Daniels to Zach Ertz, Dan.
Yeah, Zach Ertz really came on for their pass game. Obviously, no Terry McLaurin. You saw Jaden Daniels consistently looking for Ertz in critical moments.
Ensuing Bears drive, Caleb Williams finds DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift in this Bears run game finally got going last night.
3rd and 5. I love the little subtle motion. You're using the leverage of the defender to essentially pick himself, get the ball to a playmaker in space. He does the rest.
Now the Bears only trail by 2. Late fourth quarter, Commanders with the ball, same score, and Daniels handing it, trying to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but they fumble the exchange. Could have been a slippery ball. Either way, Daniels took ownership of that moment, but a huge opportunity for the Bears. Next Bears possession, trying to make something happen here. Could they get in field goal range? Swift gets the carry, the big gain, and now they are in field goal range. Jake Moody, who just joined the team, he's got an opportunity to win this thing, and sure enough, Jake Moody nails that kick. The Bears win 25-24. We talked to Caleb Williams after the game, and here's what he had to say about their 3rd straight win in Chicago.
That's who we are. We fight. That's what Coach said. We went 0-2 the first 2 games. We tied it back up, went 2-2, and now we're 3-2 because of our fight, because of our how we face adversity and how we come through and come together.
So cool for Jake Moody. The entire night we're like, oh my goodness, is this going to come down to him? And then sure enough, it does.
Was it good vibes in there?
It was. It was awesome vibes. It would have been either way. I mean, maybe not for Commanders fans. But Dan, the Bears did find a way to win. They were able to set up that game-winning field goal. Take us through how that happened.
Yeah, first of all, the 3rd and 5 conversion was huge when it comes to just play design. And then the understanding of situational football to really get that second run into field goal range. So 3rd and 5. You want to give yourself the best chance for success. So Chicago comes out, and we see it all the time, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-by-1 formation. Now, this matters because if I was the offense and I want to throw against a lesser defender, the 4-by-1 makes the nickel defender, the pass coverage guy, you're over there. So then that leaves a linebacker backside. Well, I want to, as an offense, throw to my skill guy on the linebacker. So I motion over the tight end. Washington leaves the nickel, saying we're still backside. Great, so I'm going to take advantage of my linebacker on my tight end matchup. Now, a couple things have to be important on your pass concept. I want to pay attention to Rome Odunze. When this ball is going to get snapped, you're going to see Rome Odunze.
To Caleb Williams after the game, and here's what he had to say about their 3rd straight win in Chicago.
That's who we are. We fight. That's what Coach said. We went 0-2 the first 2 games. We tied it back up, went 2-2, and now we're 3-2 because of our fight, because of our how we face adversity and how we come through and come together.
So cool for Jake Moody. The entire night we're like, oh my goodness, is this going to come down to him? And then sure enough, it does.
Was it good vibes in there?
It was. It was awesome vibes.
Yeah.
It would have been either way. I mean, maybe not for Commanders fans. But
Sure.
Dan, the Bears did find a way to win. They were able to set up that game-winning field goal. Take us through how that happened.
Yeah, first of all, the 3rd and 5 conversion was huge when it comes to just play design, and then the understanding of situational football to really get that second run into field goal range. So 3rd and 5, you want to give yourself the best chance for success. So Chicago comes out, and we see it all the time, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-by-1 formation. Now, this matters because if I was the offense and I want to throw against a lesser defender, the 4-by-1 makes the nickel defender, the pass coverage guy, you're over there. So then that leaves a linebacker backside. Well, I want to, as an offense, throw to my skill guy on the linebacker. So I motion over the tight end. Washington leaves the nickel, saying we're still backside. Great. So I'm going to take advantage of my linebacker on my tight end matchup. Now, a couple things have to be important on your pass concept. I want to pay attention to Rome Odunze. When this ball is going to get snapped, you're going to see Rome Odunze free to get vertical if I'm the Bears. 2 reasons why. Rome, when you push vertical, the defense feels your speed because as he goes vertical here, okay, this linebacker needs to continue to drop because Rome could be running this in route. Okay, he has to carry depth. Rome, I need you to push vertical because as you push vertical and can run that corner, that defensive back has to gain depth. So I'm taking the coverage and lifting it. Now I want to go to my tight end Loveland, okay? When you get there, 2 things advantage for me. You're now just a body presence on that defensive end. It's not going to be a chip, it's just a body presence, so I'm helping the tackle. The second thing is, I need you to do what we call an arc release, meaning widen. Okay, see, this is really important. As he widens and Rome pushes vertical, you're going to see both of them separate. What I'm trying to do is lift the coverage, and when you lift that coverage, that separation as an offense is huge here because now there's a void in that zone defense. Once you get your depth, turn around, get the catch. Huge conversion. Now let's go to the run that basically secures field goal range. You're expecting man coverage. The tight end is out here by himself. He's matched by safety. Everybody on the offense knows it's going to be man coverage. You want toss crack to be a part of your offense in man coverage. What does that mean? This receiver going to crack on that defensive end. When he does, I now get to pull my tackle. Remember, it's man coverage. So once DJ Moore goes down inside, he's also going to take 2, meaning that corner has to carry him in man, but then he's blocking a second guy because that's his responsibility. Beautiful job right now by the pin of those perimeter players. Darnell Wright's going to do an outstanding job of getting to the perimeter, stabbing one defensive lineman. So now look at all the space as an offense you've secured. We've got our field goal range, and then it's a really good job by Swift of then getting inside Wright's perimeter block. Really good by Ben Johnson designing really an easy completion for Caleb Williams in that offense and taking advantage of a matchup. And then beautiful understanding of confirm the coverage. It's a great play called toss crack versus man coverage. Wright does a really good job, and Swift catches the perimeter and a cutback, and that's really what gets them in field goal range.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk that Ben Johnson said after the bye week. They felt like they put a lot more in. Caleb Williams even telling me before the game he felt he had a lot more of an understanding of the offense.
Huge.
You can see that coming together. And Mina, now with a 5-game sample size of these two, it does look like it's coming together a little bit with Ben Johnson and Caleb. What stands out to you?
This is the most Lionsy this offense has looked all year long. And it all starts with how they ran the ball. This has not been a good run game for most of this season. They were phenomenal yesterday. DeAndre Swift averaged nearly 5 yards before contact per carry. It was the best of any back in the NFL. Going back and watching the under center outside zone runs, it just finally felt like the offensive line had cohered because, you know, in outside zone, you got to move together as a unit and move with athleticism and speed. And Dan, like they were extraordinary, particularly when they ran to right side on the right side. On top of that, and you highlighted this when you pointed out the final play, the toss crack, the perimeter players, again, Detroit-like, throwing blocks there, clearing lanes for the back. And the other thing I'll note is, again, similar to Detroit, you could feel the backers, the Washington Commanders backers, fearful of play action over the middle of the field, so they were almost hesitant at times to play the run too quickly. These are all things we've seen the Lions do over the last few years forever. This is the first time I felt like watching Chicago. We were seeing it with the Bears as well.
I think it's interesting they had the early season bye and that they went into it with 2 straight victories. So you get into the bye week and you can make those adjustments. People are feeling good about where they stand because they won 2 in a row heading into the bye, and they can build on it. You go back to the offseason and training camp when Ben Johnson was installing his program in Chicago. We heard this many times from a lot of different people. He was hard on them. He was hard on Caleb Williams. He was hard on the team during practices. And I think one of the things that came out of that was an understanding that, hey, we're all going through something tough together. And now you have guys that are playing with a level of confidence. Caleb Williams, last year he's running around making hero plays. Last night he's, 3rd and 5, I'm going to get 7. I think what's really interesting about this is Caleb Williams having the confidence to operate within the offense, an offense being built to maximize his strength and give him that confidence. And I think that's what you're seeing playing out. Not that there won't continue to be ups and downs, but I think you're seeing the fruits of Ben Johnson's offseason.
Yeah, there were mistakes throughout this game, right? But even just being on the sideline watching them, Caleb Williams had this intensity about him the entire time. It was like no matter what it was going to take, they just felt like they weren't going to be denied. They were on the road. It was a crazy environment. Credit to the Bears for getting that done. All right, we're just getting started here on NFL Live. Jerry Jones wasn't happy after Sunday's loss, but he says there's a bright side. Find out what's got Jerry looking at the glass half full. Plus,
beat Baltimore in week 1. Hey, that looks like smooth sailing. Yeah. They should be the 1 seed in the AFC. They should roll all these teams. Didn't turn out to be the case. Patriots are better than I think we thought. And the Falcons are better than maybe we thought. So, and you're turning the ball over. So now Joe Brady comes in a couple years ago as offensive coordinator. You change the offense. You make it run heavy. You're avoiding turnovers. It's working really, really well. But right now, when it stops working, you have to make another adjustment. So what are they going to be going forward? The concern is, of course, do you have the playmakers in the passing game if you need to involve that more?
That's the question, Jeff, because you watch Atlanta last night, and I have no idea how good the Falcons are going to wind up. I pick them every year, and every year they disappoint, so I'm not going to get crazy with them yet. But you look at all the different players they have they can go to and make things happen. The Bills, besides their quarterback, do they have any of that?
No, it's a bad sign for me. You ask bad game. It's a bad sign, right? Yeah. When you think about, first of all, it's been sloppy. It's been 3 weeks, really. They get 1 win against the Saints. 3 weeks of sloppy ball, right? 11-plus penalties in 2 of the games. I think 8 penalties last night that they have. And then the turnovers. But no plan for pressure. Like, you knew going into Atlanta, this is what they're going to walk dudes up to the line of scrimmage, and they're going to bring them. Some are going to drop. Some are gonna, but where was the plan of this is what we're going to do? And if when you look at their receivers, if they can't separate and find a way that Josh Allen, it almost feels like the clock in his head is going quick because he realizes my guys might not get open, so he's not making the right play. I did not like the plan from last night.
There are a lot of different ways to get a defense to stop blitzing. Jeff's idea is like, let's protect better. The way that I would go about this is we're going to make you pay with a big play and make you fear blitzing, because when you blitz, that means you have to play man up in the back end and you put guys in isolation. But the problem with this Bills roster is they don't have someone over there that you're terrified of that's going to get you a 30-yard chunk on a blitz. Because on 3rd and 3, I'll blitz you. You get 4, fine. First down, do it again. I'll blitz you the next 3rd down. If you go 3rd and 3 and I blitz you and you get 30, next time we're going to bluff that blitz and drop 7 in coverage. No one out there makes you scared to do that. And this was like the blueprint to stop Lamar Jackson. When you have a quarterback that is singularly talented and you don't have a ton of scary weapons with the exception of James Cook, you want to blitz him, get the ball out of his hand, make him make the play.
And to your point, we heard Dan Orlovsky last night on the call talking about trying to move Keon Coleman away from Atlanta's best cornerback in A.J. Terrell, and they couldn't do it. And, Jeff, you just said it. Atlanta, Jeff Albrecht, their defensive coordinator, give him credit. They sent pressure at Josh Allen all night, and they couldn't get to him, and that forced the turnovers. That's the bad sign to me. 3 straight games. They had gone 8 straight games without a turnover, including the playoffs, and now they're giving the ball away.
To continue the bad signs, we didn't talk about the defense. Like, the defense, the big question for them was, like, we can't stop the run. And everyone's saying, well, wait till Ed Oliver comes back. Things going to be different. Ed Oliver was back. And Bijan was gone all game long on the sideline.
They're still banged up. They're still banged up front. And that blue tent was up all night on the sideline for the Bills. I mean, there were people going in and out of there like crazy. They have shown us during the Sean McDermott era that they can get the defense figured out as the season goes along. I'm not worried about the Bills, but the question wasn't, are you worried about the Bills? It was, can the Bills be the 1 seed? And can this be the year they get to the Super Bowl? I think what we're finding out is the road's a little tougher than maybe we thought.
I think that's the best point made when you talk about the expectations for teams in the NFL, right? When you talk about the Chiefs, you talk about the Bills, like you're talking about them only aligning with the Super Bowl, not playoffs, not division, not what. So when you look at the Bills, the reason it's a bad is because you think with the schedule they had, they were going to be the 1 seed. They were going to walk through the division. Now the Patriots are better. They may not get that 1 seed. That's an issue.
Danny, all you insiders have been telling me this is going to be the most active trade deadline season that we've seen in the NFL in recent memory. We've already seen a few. Could the Bills make a move? Could they be a team out there looking to get maybe another receiver?
They always do, right? Whether it's a receiver, a cornerback a couple years ago, I think the Bills will be active in looking for ways to upgrade. I know their GM Brand.
And Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin had some thoughts about his NFC North rivals trading quarterback Joe Flacco within the division ahead of their matchup on Thursday night with Cincinnati. Here's what he said.
You know, to be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us. Because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
I mean, Dan, when the trade happened, we kind of said something similar, right? Does he have a point?
He absolutely has a point. I don't know if I've ever heard a coach come out and say it in that way. You know, we've often had hypothetical trade conversations on this show, and we'll throw out Micah Parsons going to the Washington Commanders, and everyone's like, well, they would never do that because it's in the division. But I've never heard a coach be like, oh, that was not a smart interdivision or NFL or competitive football decision. So hats off to Mike Tomlin. I think he has a point totally, but the Browns did what the Browns wanted to do.
Yeah. Mina?
I mean, I think if you gave Mike Tomlin truth serum, he would admit that he has zero fear of facing Joe Flacco, which is why the Browns traded him. He was 32nd in QBR. He was playing incredibly poorly in Cleveland. Anytime you can trade a quarterback who is statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL and get draft capital, you do it. I don't care who your competition is. I do not think they made the Bengals better, but I understand people feel some kind of way about interdivision trades and it's not a common practice. I do not believe that the Browns deserve much criticism, though, for doing it in this particular case, given the way the player was playing.
Let Joe Flacco keep the Bengals afloat. Burrow come back, and Mike Tomlin's going to be like,
all right, we'll check back in on that.
Told you.
Okay. New on NFL Live, Aaron Rodgers talks about facing another quarterback over 40 and Joe Flacco on Thursday.
Great for all the old guys, you know. I know that when I watch other sports, maybe it's because I'm the older guy, but I tend to pull for the older guys to win championships. I've been friends with Steph for a long time. Steph is one of the older guys in the NBA now. So anytime the Warriors are playing, I'm always pulling for Steph to ball out for them to win. But it's great.
Battle of the old guys. Rodgers and company starting to roll, though, by the way, as they head into this Thursday matchup with the Bengals. Mina, what are you seeing from this Pittsburgh offense that's helping them have success?
I think the offense is exactly what Arthur Smith dreamed it would be this offseason, this last week. You put heavy bodies on the field, you run the ball, you play action off of it, and they didn't run extremely well. They ran better the prior week, but they ran well enough to the point where Cleveland consistently sold out to stop it, so they had one-on-ones on the outside. That, to me, Dan, is a viable formula for this Steelers team. They're not going to throw it all over the yard. Rodgers hit on a couple of deep balls in this one, which was a difference for him. But if they can continue running the ball well out of those heavy formations, hitting some play action shots, I do think that they can move the ball well enough, coupled with the defense playing better.
I really like this offense right now in Pittsburgh. It's an offense that I look forward to watching each week because of the newness and the wrinkles that get added to it. I could break their offense down into 3 categories. Number 1, the 6 offensive line and 1 and/or 2 tight end grouping. We've seen this start a couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh. The thing is, they're adding to it. They're putting more plays into that grouping. When it first started, it was really just 1 play. 6 different ways they did it last week where 6 offensive linemen, tight end, get the quarterback on the move. There's play action. That was the first play of the game. Love that Arthur Smith comes out and does that. 6 offensive linemen with motion, weak zone. Okay, so that's the second play in this 6 offensive lineman group. 6 offensive linemen, same motion, a little bit of weak zone, but just pitch. Really nice cut by the back here. So that's 3 plays in this grouping. Now that same similar motion, shotgun, ball fake, perimeter screen. There's 4 plays out of that same offensive personnel grouping. There's that motion. Now they really go with a pass concept to the bottom of the screen. And I love this. They're taking that 6th offensive lineman and treating it as a swing screen out in front of the back as a check down, and then the jet sweep. That's 6 different plays that they have out of that offensive, or the 6 offensive linemen and double tight end grouping. I love that out of Pittsburgh.
One of my favorite things every week. It's 6 offensive linemen, but it's really 7 because Darnell Washington, the tight end, and every week, reliably, the defense just completely forgets to cover him altogether.
Yeah.
And he got a big play in this one early in the game. But I'm telling you, every week, because he is such a dominant blocker and he is part of what Dan is describing, he is completely forgotten. The Steelers are going to keep doing that.
I love it. You know what old guy quarterbacks really don't like is getting pressured. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, was not pressured in any of his 11 second-half dropbacks in Sunday's win over the Browns. Thinking about the Myles Garrett's on the other side, I mean, that's pretty remarkable.
It's part of that category. The 6 offensive line stuff helps them run them, but then they move them. That's a big part of it. And then it's either quick game or DK one-on-one. And that's kind of the 3 groupings of their offensive line, or their offensive scheme.
I love how excited we are to talk about these Steelers. All right, let's bring Graz back in for some more top stories. Graz, let's kick it off in Tennessee. What's going on there?
Well, they fired their head coach yesterday, Brian Callahan, after just 23 games. They elevated Mike McCoy, the former Chargers head coach, who's been an offensive assistant there in Tennessee the last couple of years. He'll be the interim head coach for the rest of the year, and then they'll get to work in the offseason on finding the full-time replacement who will be charged with shepherding Cam Ward through the early stages of his development. But Brian Callahan, who thought he was going to get that chance, will not. Speaking of young quarterbacks, J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota, the hope is to get him back on the practice field this week and in line to start coming off the bye. Problem is, we don't know if he's fully healthy yet. We don't know if Carson Wentz is fully healthy. He got banged up ahead of the bye. So what the Vikings are saying now is they have to see who's healthy and make a decision about who can play. If everyone's healthy, they still plan to go back to J.J. McCarthy. The Kansas City Chiefs
unanswered points in the second to take it. But Puka Nacua sprained his ankles now day-to-day as they head to play the Jags in London on Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on that. Dan, with Puka banged up, do you have concerns for this Rams offense if he misses more time? He's so crucial to what they do.
I do. Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams still aren't on the page that they should be on and on the same page, whether Puka's healthy or not. This is a team that has hopes and aspirations and talent to win the Super Bowl, but until their quarterback and receiver get on the same page and see the defenses the right way or the same way at the same time, this pass game is still going to be, as good as it is, still Puka-centric. Sometimes Devontae gets open, Matthew misses them, specifically down in the red zone. Sometimes Matthew, sees vacated zones or whatnot, and Devontae's maybe just a step behind and there's a drop or two. And so I think that connection has to figure out why it's not clicking the way many of us expected it to be.
Completely agree. I also wonder if Sean McVay needs to consider, I wouldn't say reinventing, that's a little strong, but fundamentally changing the nature of this offense in Nacua's absence. They have players on the roster who can, I won't say fill the Nacua role, but can do many of the things he does. Jordan Whittington is sort of that physical wide receiver who can block. Puka's almost like a half hybrid receiver tight end. But I don't think that means they're going to be putting their best players on the field if they go that route. And I wonder, Dan, if they should consider leaning more into 12 personnel. This has been primarily an 11 personnel team. In the second round, they drafted a tight end, Terrence Ferguson, out of Oregon, called a preseason game. You saw how explosive he was. He was catching like slot fades downfield. Then he's not been in this offense, I think, because McVay places so much emphasis on, having players on the field who can block and always having run-pass conflict. But he might be the most explosive option they've got at the tight end position. And I do wonder if you're Sean McVay, instead of just trying to replicate what you did with Nacua, if you consider changing the nature of what you do in the passing attack to get different players on the field.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the 12 thing. Then you live in a world, again, where there's a Puka or no Puka. I'm living in that Puka is going to be a part of these conversations. Again, this is a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
If you live in 12,
Right.
I would argue that you're not very vertically fast. There's not a lot of vertical stretch because it's Puka and Devontae.
This guy is fast, though.
Ferg is, but you know what I'm talking? You're not Tutu Atwell. You would make the claim that you want him to be on the field just because of his vertical speed.
Yeah.
And Mina, I know we've talked about this as well. You watch their tape, and all I write down often is, this is a good, efficient run. This is a good, efficient run. 2 or 3 of them happened last week where they were explosive, but it's still, the explosives are still very one-sided and only pass game centric.
It's really interesting. And by the way, Nakua is getting 32% of the Rams targets this season, and that's good for 5th highest rate of any player in the NFL. That's how much they've relied on him. But
Devontae and Matthew have to figure it out.
That would change the way we look at this, right?
Totally.
Look out for Ferguson, though. Tell us, Mina.
Talented.
All right, coming up, it's a battle of the old guy quarterbacks. Oh, my goodness.
Where we're potentially our strongest is pass rush, and we've got the most capable pass rushers that we've had, and we've got the ability to really rotate our players, which is very important in pass rush because that's probably you exert more energy there than any place else. There's ways that we can take our personnel and address what happened to us Sunday.
Okay, Jerry.
We need to get in the all-22.
I love it. Some interesting thoughts coming off loss to the Panthers. Dan, what went wrong for the Cowboys on Sunday in Carolina?
I actually thought that the Carolina defense outperformed the Cowboys offense. Now, Dak was really good. Pickens made some plays, but there were some red zone opportunities for this offense that they just didn't get done, and that really hurt. Now, they scored 27. There's no question about it, but with the way their defense is playing, that's not going to be enough. And so there's 2 or 3 times that they're down in the red zone and they don't score touchdowns. They got to kick field goals. I absolutely think this is a team that 4th and 5 or less, once you pass the 50-yard line, should absolutely go for it instead of kicking field goals.
The Jets fell to 0-5 on Sunday when they lost in London to the Broncos. Mina, what went wrong for Aaron Glenn and the Jets in that one?
Yeah, no mystery here. One of the worst offensive performances, I think, statistically of all time. But to narrow the specificity, Justin Fields just did not pull the trigger in this game. It's been a problem at times with him over the course of his career. I actually think he has been better at it earlier. But in this particular game, he's just showed such hesitancy to throw the ball. Guys weren't always open, but there were moments where he could have thrown, particularly to Garrett Wilson, and I was just screaming at the tape saying, throw the ball, as I'm sure Jets fans were.
She actually was, you guys. Yeah. Seattle defeated the Jags on Sunday. Graz, you were in the building. What went wrong for the Jaguars?
Seattle really just beat them up front with their defensive front. Seattle's so banged up on the back end, but they dominated with their defensive line. Jaguars were using a backup center. I'm talking to some of their people before the game. They were talking about the adjustments they would have to make, helping with guards, run more outside as opposed to up the middle. None of it worked. Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, that crew was just dominant and just pressured Trevor Lawrence into problems all day, and the Jaguars could never get their run game going.
All right, only the Browns have allowed fewer yards per rush than the Seahawks defense this season. They're allowing just 3.3 yards per carry this season. That would break the franchise record. And they rank 6th in yards before contact, 2nd in yards after contact allowed on the ground this season. So, Mina, the Seattle defense means business this year. What stood out to you through now week 6 that you've seen so far?
Oh, my God, those numbers are beautiful. Oh, there's so much to talk about. I'll say this. I just love the way Mike Macdonald leans into the versatility of his defensive stars. And watching this game back, 2 players really jumped out to me. One was Leonard Williams. Yesterday, I said he's like the best defensive player that no one ever talks about. Watching some of the pressures and sacks, he was just lined up everywhere. On the sacks, he was at 3-tech, 1-tech, 9-tech, outside Nwosu at one point, 5-tech multiple times. McDonald's just so good at using him, particularly on overloads to get the matchups he wants, and he is fantastic. And then the other one, and this was new, Nick Emenwari, the rookie, who hasn't really played this year because he's been hurt, sort of a hybrid safety that they got in the 2nd round. In this game, he was mostly in the slot, but they had him in the box, and then he put him on the line of scrimmage and sent him as a blitzer a couple times, and he forced incompletions. That is something to monitor going forward because his ability to do that, he's so explosive, is going to create doubt in the minds of quarterbacks the same way that Kyle Hamilton did back in Baltimore, especially when Julian Love and Devin Witherspoon are back on the field. Just a really, really special performance from those two players.
I was literally going to say he's found his Kyle Hamilton, and you just took it. So I totally agree with that. So you stopped the run on early down, Seattle, and now this four-man rush is something that offensively it's a problem to deal with, not only because of Leonard Williams, but really all four of those guys. So it's really the concept of like solo overload. What I mean by that is Nwosu right now is by himself out here, okay? So you have to ask yourself as an offense, do you have a tackle that can block him one-on-one? And then you get this overload backside of Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Boye Mafe. So this is a problem offensively because if you think you can block him one-on-one, great. If you can't, you have numbers problems backside. Now, this is what happens. What they do in these situations is they're taking this internal picture and burying your offensive lineman. If you look at this right now, 3 offensive linemen for Jacksonville, blocking 2. So you've created one-on-one and one-on-one, but you've only rushed 4. Then they get into that attack mode. Those one-on-one perimeter players on the outside or perimeter rushers on the outside win. That was Nwosu by himself. This time, DeMarcus Lawrence to the right by himself. Can you block him one-on-one? And then you got Murphy, Leonard Williams, and Nwosu here. And now, again, we want to create these internal problems for you to take numbers and then get those one-on-ones. There's this internal game. How many people are blocking? 3-on-2, but I have a one-on-one there. I have a one-on-one there. The Seattle Seahawks are taking this 4-man pressure with this solo overload and burying your numbers. This time, Boye Mafe's by himself, right? Boye Mafe's right here by himself. Murphy, Leonard Williams, and then DeMarcus Lawrence. Can you block him one-on-one? If you think you can block him one-on-one, great numbers, but that's a problem. This time, look at this 2-man game because this is called that TE stunt where the tackle goes in, the end comes underneath. It's only 2-on-2 because these 3 are blocking those 2. Advantage Seattle with their rush and DeMarcus Lawrence. Another opportunity. Now Boye Mafe by himself. All these guys are playing these roles. Here comes this 2-man game backside because we have 3 blocking 2 on the opposite angle, and it's absolute chaos in the middle of the pocket. The versatility that Mina's referencing of those guys all being able to play those different roles, sometimes by themselves, sometimes in the internal game, sometimes in the 2-man game opposite. This is a difficult defense. I think Seattle is, no question, because of their defense, an NFC championship contender.
Ooh, I love it. You'll see him on Monday Night Football, Dan. You get to see him up close and personal. Graz, on the other side of the ball, things seem to be working out with Sam Darnold as the new QB1 in Seattle. What are you hearing about how they feel about Sam?
Oh, they feel great about Sam. And remember, you go back to the offseason, their original plan was to do an extension with Geno Smith. They got into negotiations, felt like he wasn't that interested in doing the extension, so they trade him and they signed Sam Darnold. So far, Sam Darnold is playing, they would tell you, better than he played last year when he had that great year in Minnesota in a lot of ways. And they're just thrilled. They feel like they're getting similar, if not superior performance of what they were getting from Geno for less money with a younger player. So, yeah, they're over the moon about how Sam Darnold has played and the way he's able to find Jackson Smith and Jigba for big plays down the field.
Yeah,